Jai Hind dosto, and I welcome all the lovely viewers of Youth Weds Passion Show and all the charming aspirants of How to Crack SSB. And once again, I welcome you to the 24th episode of Youth Weds Passion Show. So in the last episode, we have already started with the second phase of SSB, that's comprises of psychology, GTO and interview. So psychology we started up with, and we discussed about psychology. Today we will be starting up with the very first assessment which is there in psychology, and that is TAT, Thematic Apperception Test. It's a very interesting test, and let's walk through that what is there in this test, and then we will understand that how you have to perform and why it is so important. So TAT is a test through which psychologist gets to know a great insight about the candidate's personality. So in this, basically the projection is shown to you, and that projection is basically a photograph, a scenery, and that depicts various scenarios or situation, and based on that projection, after looking at that projection, you get time to write a story on that. So it's like there are total 12 projections shown in series. Each projection is shown for 30 seconds. 30 seconds projection is shown. After that 30 seconds, you get 4 minutes to write a story. And after that story, the next projection, that's done, next. Likewise, you get total 12 projection, in which 11 projections are various situation based on which you have to perceive, आपको देखना है, perceive करना है, और उस perception के basis पे story लिखनी है. 12th projection is a blank photograph. So in that blank photograph, you are required to write a virtual story. Got it? So this is what is there in TAT. So it's a projection test, 12 photographs, 30 seconds each projection, 4 minutes for writing a story, then next. 12th is a blank where you need to write a virtual story. Now let's understand that what is so special in this test and why this test has been incorporated in psychology within the SSB. How it plays a very important role, or in other way, how it gives a great insight about candidate personality to the psychologist. See, when a photo or a projection or a situation is shown to you in the form of a pictorial representation. So as I said, that with the help of a projector, a photo or a situation is given to you. That's a pictorial representation. So just to give you an example, so if you look at this, so it's a pictorial representation, right? So this kind of a pictorial representation which you can see right now on your screen. So this kind of a representation is shown to you. Now, when such a representation, a pictorial representation is projected to you, so you can understand what happens. It is something similar that we did in PPDT as well, picture perception and discussion test. So when a pictorial representation is shown to you, your thought process will get actuated. That means your cognition that we discussed in the last episode, which is the process of thinking. जब आप किसी भी situation को picture form में देखते हैं, बड़ा layman में समझते हैं. Let's understand in a very layman way. So whenever we see any pictorial representation, a photograph or anything, automatically thoughts start coming out of our mind. So the idea is, when you see this projection, your thought process is triggered. Now, this thought process will going to come up with various thoughts, ideas that what is happening in the picture. So picture will just give you a situation, but the consequences of that situation you will determine. In other words, candidates' thoughts will going to imagine the consequences of that picture. So the example is this picture which is there on your screen. This start gives you a thought that there are people, various young chaps are there. There is a river, one is swimming or someone is drowning, something, right? So now this actuates my thought process. And once it actuates my thought process, automatically a imaginative story is formed in my mind. Now, psychologist wants you to write that imaginative story into your paper. Now, why that imaginative story, why he wants you to write it? Because when you will write this story will actually showcase your natural personality, or in other words, the way you think, the way you take a situation. Example, this picture, which I have just projected, shared with you, again, which is there on your screen right now. In this picture, if I say, let's say, my thought process comes in that it's a scenario of a countryside, and children are there, and young chaps are there, and one person was drowning, and one person saw him while drowning, and he shouted, but somehow, unfortunately, he shouted, but no one came for the help, and that guy was drowned. He got drowned in the river. वो उसमें डूब गया. Now, this imaginative story, if comes to my mind, which can probably be one of the point of view. So this could be probably one of the point of view that can come in the mind of a candidate. From the moment you write it, this story, this thought shows that these are your thought, which means it shows that this is the way you do your things in life, or you think in life, or this is the way you look out at the situation that comes to your life. And that way is that you are a very helpless person. You do not have a courage, and if something wrong, or in other words, someone who's in a problem who comes in front of you, you will feel helpless and you cannot help that person. This is what is reflected from this imaginative story which I have just narrated in front of you, which you will obviously in TAT going to write in your paper. So the idea is, when we write our thoughts, so projection has manifested thoughts in our mind, it has triggered the thought process, and penning down a story is manifesting those thoughts on the paper. This whole process tells our personality, the way we live and the way we react to situations in our general day-to-day life. This is the way a psychologist gets to know about a great insight about the candidate's personality. I believe everyone is clear that how this story and this TAT plays a very important role. Now the point comes in. So the idea is, we need a thought process if we really want that hidden officer should be reflected, the one which is within us, the hidden officer which is lying within the candidate must be reflected. So we need a story that is written, must be something which must showcase and demonstrate our officer-like qualities directly and indirectly. Or in other words, as we discussed in PPDT as well, that the story must be a positive story, something which is having a very concrete solution, and something where your action shows that you have taken an initiative or you have been a person in solving that situation. That means overall it gives an inspiring and a positive outlook to the assessor. So this is the crux. But now question comes in, why 12 projections? भाई 12 प्रोजेक्शन ही क्यों रखी इस टेस्ट में? और 12 में भी if you try to understand, there is a very abrupt change, and that change is 11 projection, 1 blank. So question 1 is, how a psychologist will going to assess and how TAT will going to tell a story, will going to tell the psychologist about your personality. But why they have kept 12 stories? Number 1, 12 projections, and that too, why in 12? Why 11 projections and 1 blank? Now let's understand this part. As I have always said to you in every episode and right from the beginning, that SSB is one of the most foolproof assessment system. That is why it is less ordinary. And when it comes to nation security, the assessor wants to be very sure about your hidden officer, your hidden personality traits, your hidden OLQs. They don't want that you should be able to trick it at any point of time. So the overall system and assessment has been designed in such a scientific way that deliberately, if you try to trick, if you try to tweak it, you will certainly going to fail. How? अब आपको पता लग गया कि जी स्टोरी जो है ना वो एक मीनिंगफुल, पॉजिटिव, अच्छी कंक्लूजन निकलते हुए सपोर्टिव स्टोरी होनी चाहिए टैट के अंदर, तो आप अपने माइंड को इसी तरीके से बना लोगे. करेक्ट? सो व्हाट विल हैपन, जैसे यही एक स्टोरी है जो आपकी स्क्रीन पे मैं 3 बार चला चुका हूं. इस पिक्चर को दोबारा कंसिडर करो. नाउ कंसिडर, in your day-to-day life, you do not have a very positive outlook towards life, and you are not even courageous, and at times you do not have that you can say the personality of being very supportive to the society, to the people, to the nation, or various other aspects. Now, in such a case, you get to know this trick. So what you do in test, somehow forcefully you prepare and you tell yourself that whatever picture that is going to come in front of you, you will try to make something good out of it. So now, even you have a negative mindset, non-productive mindset, not a mindset which is very much favorable to the overall system, nation, society, a picture like this comes to you. So you deliberately make a story that a person is drowning and one of the Sham was standing over there. He bravely jumped into the river and he saved that person, and then the person came back and he was thankful to Sham, and finally he moved back. So something kind of a positive story you will write. So the idea is this you are doing deliberately. By default, this is not your personality. So in order to prevent this thing that you are not able to do this, and to actually bombard your mind and to bombard your process of controlled thought process. So I call it as a controlled thought process. कि आप पहले से तैयारी करके जा रहे हो, सोच समझ के जा रहे हो कि मैं ऐसा करूंगा. So in order to shoot your planned thought process, in order to bombard you, such a time pressure and series of photographs have been kept that deliberately you will not be able to do anything, and if you try to do it, you will go blank. You won't be even able to write any story. And there are many candidates, even many of the viewers right now, there could be cases in these viewers as well, where They're not able to write stories. They miss out stories because they, at that particular moment, they are trying to deliberately, either they are trying to deliberately guide themselves, or in other words, they come under a great stress. So why they have kept series of projection? Because one, and that too one after another, so that the moment you complete one, immediately next is there. 30 second pressure start increasing. Only 30 seconds to view that picture. Again, on the back to the job, 4 minutes writing, again 11 times. Now you can understand, अगर आपसे back to back 60 मिनट में मैं back to back हर 4 मिनट में एक story लिखने को कहूँ, and that too based on the projection, you can understand that you won't be able to control your natural involuntary thought process. Something which comes from your subconscious, something which comes automatically, something which is in your behavior will be triggered. And my dear, this is the second thing which is easily caught by the psychologist in TAT, and that is the behavior. 5 चीजें बताई थी मैंने last episode में, याद है? 5 things. So one, cognition gets very easily captured. Secondly, behavior. And third, जो हर किसी में capture होता है, that's your perception. How you perceive, how you look out at things. Positive, negative, helping, or courageous, or you are fearful. So the idea is, the why they have kept back-to-back stories so that to hijack your voluntary thought process. So once they are able to hijack your voluntary thought process, automatically what will going to come out is involuntary, and whatever comes in involuntary, that is the true personality. So true personality is your involuntary action. I believe you are understood that why these series of picture has been kept. Now, why one odd out of so many, why there is one out of so many events, one blank story? What is the reason of that? Now, why they have kept, again, this has been done deliberately to make this process more foolproof. Because this is the point where many of the chaps are caught and they commit a huge blunder at this point. What they do, they prepare this blank story. घर से वो blank story prepare करते हैं, बढ़िया सी, and then they go and then they say, okay, they cram and ratta maar liya. After mugging it up, they go and they just simply pen it down over there. Now what happens when the 11 stories that you have written, and that too under a time pressure and under such a extreme time pressure, with that too a pressure of 11 stories, you can understand the quality of your throw in that and what you have mugged up would be like this and this. Zameen aur asman ka difference hoga. So if you have something purely mugged up, it will automatically be picked up by the assessor that this blank story has not again been written by you naturally. It is something which you came with a pre-planning and you have simply written this. And you will be caught there. Whereas the idea is, ideally, the way handwriting and the clarity which is there in 11 stories, same kind of a clarity should be there in the blank story. Got it? Because if it is on the same level of English, same level of clarity, same level, though every story has a very positive outcome. So in that particular case, your all stories, even that blank, will give absolutely natural. That will showcase that you have not done this deliberately. Moreover, at times what happened, even you have written all stories positive. In one way or the another, in either dimension they are positive. But the blank story, if you go with a mugged up approach, the problem is you make it too sugary. You make it too sweet. मतलब 11 पॉजिटिव होंगी, बट वो इतनी पॉजिटिविटी उसमें आप भर दोगे, it will look like that. How is this possible? One person in 11 stories is not having that particular mindset, and how come in suddenly in one story you have developed this mindset? Are you getting it? So the idea is it has to be on the same plane. All must give equal level of positive outlook with all the things that you have to take into consideration as a mandate which shows your OLQs directly and indirectly, which gives a required outlook of your personality. So the best way for writing the blank story is when you go from your home, just plan out the concept on which you will be writing a blank story. Let's say you pick up a technology thing that people are facing a problem, or I saw for blinds that you have developed something, a gadget, or you have helped a society or anything. Just go with the clarity of concept so that you should not invest time in just recalling or in just planning of the concept over there. But don't mug up your writing. Go with the planned concept and write. So what will happen under that time pressure? If you just have the idea of the thought, the way you get your thought was triggered after looking at that projection, in the same way, if you just from your home, if you go with the idea for that blank story and write spontaneously over there, automatically under that time pressure, that writing, spontaneous writing will going to match with all 11. So it will going to look absolutely normal and natural. Understood? So can you imagine such a stringent and such a foolproof and scientific method and the overall process they have developed? Now you can understand, you can believe, you can realize from this fact that you cannot trick the SSB system, and that is why the success rate in SSB is absolutely unpredictable. So for TAT, this is the Guru Mantra that yes, you need to work on your cognition, which means positive. The story has to be positive. Whatever you write, it should not give a destructive look and feel. Again, it must be with an outlook of positivity, with an outlook of which shows your courage, which shows your initiative, which shows your officer-like qualities directly and indirectly. And on top of it, for the blank story, just go with the planned concept and idea. Don't go with the mugged up story. I believe you have understood that how you have to, what all things you have to keep in mind in TAT, and what is the importance of TAT, what is TAT, and why TAT is such a vital test that plays such a vital role for the psychologist in knowing a great insight about the candidate's personality. Now, once you have understood that what is TAT and why it is so important, and what is there in TAT and how you have to overall handle that. Now let's specifically talk about that what are the rules and what is the strategy to perform in TAT, and then obviously some do's and don'ts. So the rules of the TAT are, so it's like as I've already said, so TAT is of 60 minutes is the duration. There will be total 12 projections, each projection shown for 30 seconds and then 4 minutes for writing a story. Out of the 12 pictures that are projected, 11 will be the pictorial representation and 1 will be a blank story or the blank picture where you are required to write a virtual story. So once we are clear with the rules, now let's go to the action plan that forms the winning strategy for TAT. So in TAT, you have to look for 4 things. So first is the picture analysis. Second is the identification of characters. Third is establishment of theme and central idea. And fourth is writing the story. Now, the 4 steps which I have said, picture analysis, identification of the character, establishing the theme, and then writing the story. This is just for your understanding purpose I am explaining you, but the fact is, the very first 3 points, the picture analysis, identification of the characters, and then establishing the theme. this has to be done very, very quickly within 30 seconds when that projection is there in front of your screen. Because at that time, you have to see that what picture is all about, then what all things are there in the picture. You have to identify the characters, infrastructures over there. That is there any kind of an infrastructure like police station or a fire brigade or kind of a post office, anything like that. Then at the same point of time, what kind of a situation or background it is a rural, urban, and then what would be your overall story. So the idea is you have to do it very, very quickly, and then you have to finally write a story. So this process which I am explaining you is for your clarity. But the fact is, under that time pressure, you won't have that particular sense, or you won't be voluntarily able to control and think of all these 4 points, separate points. It will go in one shot, right? In picture analysis, you have to look for 3 things. So, like first you have to look for that what kind of a background it is. So it's a urban, rural, semi-urban, semi-rural, or it's like jungle, plain, mountains, kind of anything. So here you need to understand very important thing. The identification of the background, it could be both literal and symbolic. So literal and symbolic means, for example, the picture which is there on your screen. This picture, here I can see that there are trees, there are grasses. I can say it's a kind of a jungle is there. But in this picture, I cannot see any mountains. But if I want, I can in my story add the mountains, or I can consider mountains are also there, because it is somewhat related to it. So the idea is that something which has directly been perceived in that picture is a literal requirement, or it's a literal identification of the background. But something which is not there, but you have considered based on the kind of a situation, that's a symbolic. Understood? Now next is, in picture analysis, you have to look for significant infrastructure, like if there is a police station, as I have already mentioned, as there is a PCO booth, or there is a post office, anything that you can figure out. Again, it is of both symbolic and literal. Then third is important is, that is the part of picture analysis, that what action is going on in the picture. So if you will see the picture which is there on your screen, so in this screen, so you have to identify that what action is going on. So certainly, like in this picture which is on the screen, so kind of action which is going on is that a person is swimming, or a young chap is getting drowned, or it could be that one person is swimming, or one person is immediately saving a drowning person. So it could be various actions that are going in that picture. So this is the broader perspective. In detail I am telling you, but these things happen while during your test in couple of nanoseconds. So it's like a very spontaneous process. So it's like you look out at a picture and you identify, okay, so I'll make a story of a rural where they are sitting near a river, and Sham, he saw a drowning person and he immediately took a call, he immediately jumped. So the idea is I have to do this very instantly. I'm just, for your clarity, telling you in detail. Done your picture analysis, then you have to look for identify the characters, because obviously we will name it. So again, in characters, the way we used to do in PPDT, if you remember. So here in characters, there would be one main hero and side characters. Main hero is no one, he is none other than you only. So main hero represents you. So let's say you have represented main hero, a person who is saving a person. So that means you are the one who is saving it. That showcases your mindset, that you have this kind of a mindset, right? So you have to identify the main character and the side characters. right? Once the characters have been identified, then finally you make a complete theme. So in theme, you need to understand very important so you have to make the overall story what you will write. You have to include three things in the story. So number one is that what you have identified and what is happening. Secondly, as a hero, in next 5 to 6 lines, as a hero, what is your action? What is the solution, or what is your role, what you are doing, your action plan? And the last 2 to 3 lines, that would be concluding lines, that gives a conclusion that you finally saved a person, you finally accomplished this, and then finally you pushed off for your work, or you were going to school and you went back to your school, or you were going for meeting a friend and you proceeded on your way to your friend's home. So the idea is, initial opening is describing the scenario. Next 5-6 lines, what exactly what you have done, what measures you have taken, what action you have taken, what is the solution you have given, and finally 2-3 lines are the final conclusion. So once you have done with the central theme, and then finally comes the 4-minute writing a story. So as again I have said, the all three process of picture analysis, identification of the characters, main hero, side characters, and you're establishing a theme. This has to be a very, very quick process. So it's like you need to do it. You have to look out at the picture in 30 seconds, come up with these, identify those characters, background and everything, and analyze the picture, and then you can give the projection will be taken off from the screen. Then again you can give 30 seconds if you want for making a plan, but then you need to quickly rush up because you will just left with 3.5 minutes hardly to write your story. So the idea is, this process, when you will be doing at the time of the test, will be a very, very strict, because you will have an extreme time pressure. So the best way is, you need to do the mock test, and at the same point of time, you need to work on your cognition part. Cognition is the way you think. So all those who always have, as I have always said in other tests as well, and in other episodes of officer-like qualities or different ways, certainly the very basis is, if certainly you have improved your officer-like qualities, these will automatically be improved. You just need to understand that the overall idea behind every test. And a mock test, why I'm suggesting you, so that you should not get panicked. So at times it happens that you do have the positive frame of mind, you do have that factor which is required to be an officer lying in your latent, but just because of that pressure, that phobia of that testing room, that time pressure, you become panic. So just to make yourself acquainted with those 11 stories back to back writing, your hand should not start paining. आपको अगर इतनी लिखने की आदत नहीं है, तो just to adapt that environment, mock test is mandatory. And even with the next episode, between that episode that will be telecasted, before that on the official page of How to Crack SSB, we will come up with few mock tests also. So all those who are interested, they can just sit in a pin drop silence in a room, and they can give their complete 60 minutes, and we will publish few of the mock tests on the official Facebook page, and then sincerely they can do, and after doing it, they can even send that same mock test to us on those comment section or in the inbox, and we will even assess and evaluate the same for them, right? So just do connect it with the page facebook.com/howtocrackssb. You will get the mock test of TAT over there as well. So now finally, to sum up for the TAT, let's have the final do's and don'ts of the TAT, and then we can finally conclude the TAT for today's episode. So I have 3 do's for you. Please write the story in a single paragraph. It's preferable. Just don't make multiple paragraphs. Make a single paragraph. Second, your handwriting must be neat and clean, and please avoid any overwriting and cutting. So for this, it's advisable you must do multiple mock tests, because that will help you in coping up with the speed of handwriting, managing your good handwriting with speed, and coping up with the pressure of time. And the third advice is write the story. If possible, whenever you write a story, in that story, you must give hero a name, and the name must be a delightful, good, and a sweet short name. Now there are a few don'ts which are very important. Number one, in your story, never make multiple heroes. There should be only one hero, because one hero is none other than you only. So heroes' action are indirectly your own action, candidate's action. Number second, do not name any of the side characters. There is no need to name the side characters. You can simply say, if the main hero is Amar, you can say Amar friend, Amar two of the Amar's friend, or Amar's father, whatever you want to write. There is no need to name that. Third, please ensure that your story conclusion outcome must not be negative. In short, it should not be a negative story. Fourth, do not give any title to your story. There is no need to give a title to a story. At times, people start giving fancy titles to the story. That's no use. You will waste your time, and you might miss out writing your story. Then one very important thing which you need to ensure, which is a don't, which you must adhere to. At times, candidates do this mistake that they simply start explaining that picture. Please don't explain that picture. It has to be a story. Story means something which has thoughts, emotion, feelings, and a conclusion. That means it has a reason, situation, and there is always a solution and a conclusion. So you need to write a story. You need not have to describe that story. Next, do not write any moral of the story at the end. You do not have to teach the assessor. You do not have to give any moral or any lesson to the assessor. You just simply have to write and end up the story. The conclusion will automatically, indirectly showcase your mindset or the moral which assessor can easily pick up. You explicitly don't write a moral of the story at the end. Then please do not prefix any Mr. or Shri to the hero, because again, as I said, hero is no one, he is you only. Writing Mr. or Shri means you are making it for your own self, which showcases various different mindsets. So better simply write a name. No salutation is required. And last, just if you can try to avoid the use of negative words like weak, hopeless, fearful. So in story at times we give adjectives, negative adjectives to few of the characters. Try to avoid it as much as possible, and for main character, never use negative adjectives. So I believe you all are clear with the TAT, that what the TAT is all about, that what is there in TAT, how to attempt TAT, and what is the winning strategy to outperform in test TAT, and how you have to perform outstandingly well in TAT. How you have to perform outstandingly well in TAT. So thank you so very much for joining me live today, and once again I really thank you, and I really love you all, and once again see you guys in the next episode. Till then, thank you, bye bye, take care, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, thank you.